Hey you geeks! Before I begin today's video, be warned, it will contain severe spoilers for Starsight, Brandon Sanderson's newest novel. If you are looking for a spoiler-free review, check out my earlier video linked above and in the description. Starsight's main theme is that sentient beings ought to be accommodated, yet these very beings are dangerous, leaving our protagonist to ask how to balance these two undeniable truths. Of course, this question has baffled humanity for all of history. As my second favorite poll once wrote, there is an essential connection between life and freedom. These are inseparable goods. Where one is violated, the other also ends up being violated. There is no true freedom where life is not welcomed and loved, and there is no fullness of life except in freedom. This is some deep stuff in an unassuming YA novel. Let's dive on in. Premise 1. Living beings are dangerous. All things have the potential of being dangerous, but a person who can imagine and philosophize can imagine terrible ways of being dangerous and rationalize it afterward.
See, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke. Dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the world allows them to be.
The aliens of Starsight live in constant fear of the human scourge, while the humans live in fear of the aliens. Both are afraid of the Delvers, and with good reason. The aliens, for all their talk of peace and passivity, have won 3 wars against humans. In their victory, they have waged a 100-year-long police action against the humans of detritus, without getting their hands, claws, or otherwise dirty. As I mentioned in my review, this kind of violence is the one most to be feared, and the one most prevalent in our culture today. The humans have no such delusions of civility in their war effort, as every part of their society is strictly tailored towards the long, bloody fight. Ironically, the humans of detritus were not part of any of the earlier human wars. Rather, their only fault was being human. For that, the aliens hunted them to a desolate planet, decapitated their society, and killed their bravest persons for 3 generations. So, naturally, the humans tend towards aggressive negotiations with their captors.
Aggressive negotiations, what's that?
Negotiations with a lightsaber.
Lastly, there are the Delvers, the planet-devouring, life-sucking, interdimensional beings that are obviously dangerous. But to the non-Cytonic, it appears that these creatures are not intelligent. They seem like a wild animal rampaging through a city, dangerous when crossed, but otherwise aimless. The Cytonics know better. They can sense the Delver's malice towards the small, inferior gnats that bite it.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
However, once Spensa is able to communicate that these gnats are alive, the Delver's malice turns into sudden accommodation. Thus, the allegedly greatest evil in the universe demonstrated the greatest virtue, that, premise 2, life must be accommodated. The aliens of Starsight pride themselves on accommodating all types, from starship dismounting implements to bathrooms, toothpaste, kitchens, and food stocks. The superiority will gladly accommodate the physical needs of any being whom it deems worthy. However, it will not accommodate those it deems unworthy, or those who think differently, or worse yet, those it deems too violent. With humans, they forcefully provide accommodation in refuge planets or slavery. They are not treated as sentient beings, but as animals. Because of this, the humans have not been able to show much accommodation. Yet, in many ways, they aren't better than the aliens. In Skyward, they ostracize Spensa for the sins of her father, in much the same way the aliens ostracize humanity for the faults of generations past. The humans teach their children to fear aliens. When first arriving in Starsight, Spensa believes all aliens to be equally responsible for her people's, and especially her family's, suffering. Thus, the two sides know that the other side is alive and sentient, yet are unable to see them as worth accommodating. It is into this crazy scene that the Delver enters. Shocked and slightly embarrassed that the great gnat storm had suddenly gone silent, it, with a little help from Spensa, searches for the next most annoying thing it can find: Starsight. Spensa had done exactly what the aliens feared she would do: attract the Delver to their homes. Of course, Kuna, the accommodating, stated that
a single cytonic here and there, like yourself, is not a danger, particularly untrained as you are.
But Kuna was wrong. One inexperienced cytonic was all it took. Yet one inexperienced cytonic and her Dion friend was all Starsight had to save them. Problem: how to balance both. Ruing her mistake, Spensa goes to confront the beast and let her
sound my barbaric Yopp. The rooftops of the world. W. Uncle Walt.
But instead of the barbaric Yopp of Whitman, she lets out the Yopp of Dr. Seuss. We are here! We are here! We are here! We are here! This Yopp tells the Delver that the gnats are living, sentient beings who ought not to be boiled in a hot steaming kettle of beesnut oil or dusted away. Then the Delver does something truly extraordinary. It leaves the gnats alone, ashamed and horrified at what it had done.
Because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. A person's a person, no matter how small.
Making it one of the few beings to realize their mistake and repent. The humans and aliens then attempt to do likewise, as Kuna tries to make peace with the humans of detritus. But alas, the peaceful superiority refuses to accommodate even physically for the human scourge and ignites Human War 4, which is where Starsight ends, but Spensa's story, and ours, is just beginning. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to see more. Thank you. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.